The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
Welcome to the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. Today we have a special program, people. Today we have Mara. Tell the people your last name, Mara. Tell the people your whole last name and what show you're about to bring to them.
My name is Tamara Jones, and the show I'm about to bring to them is Real Talk with Mara.
All right. Now, see, we starting a media group, people. It's going to be a black-owned media group, and we're inviting podcasters, YouTube creators, content creators, anybody that wants to put their content out there. We're going to bring to you some good stuff. We're going to bring to the community things that we need to know in order to navigate this rough times that we're living in. We got coronavirus out here. We got a racist president. We have a lot of things that's going on in our society that we need to understand, and a lot of us don't even think about on a day-to-day basis. Now, I'm gonna be helping Mara get her show started, and you're gonna see a lot of her, and I'll be on her show also to help her out. But we're gonna bring some live and good content. Now, today's show is going to be about why blacks in our communities can't stop the violence, can't stop the gangster-ism. Okay? And my thoughts on that is, it's because they need to legalize marijuana. Now, let me explain that, people. Because I've did some deep thoughts on this. You see, it goes back to the history. And what I like to do for my audience out there, I like to take you back to the history of what's going on in our communities, and then lead you around in a circle and bring you back to what's going on now. So the history of gangsterism, actually I'm going to take you back even further than that. The original sin in this country was slavery. Okay. And after slavery, there came an influx of immigrants from Poland, from Germany, from Italy, the Irish. You know, all of these people brought their ways of getting money to this country, especially around the Great Depression. So what you had was, you had freed blacks living in poverty already because they couldn't get the same thing whites had. And then you had an influx of immigrants who were considered just as bad as blacks, but a step above blacks because they were white. So those whites who felt like they wasn't getting a fair shake started this gangsterism sort of a way of living in this country. The problem of that is, through things like prohibition, you had gambling, you had Hollywood. Through things like this, these white immigrants succeeded past gangsterism and left us behind, because a lot of the gangsters of the 30s and the 40s, they actually led the black gangsters. They was over the black gangsters. They might have had people like Bumpy Johnson, who was a black godfather of Harlem. He might have been the black godfather of Harlem, but he still had the answer to Lucky Luciano, which was the godfather of New York. So these men and women succeeded into putting their people into politics, putting their people into the police force, putting their people into certain key places in America that we never did do. And it all became a part of the American culture, and we still out here practicing gangsterism that they practiced in the 40s and the 30s, but they're not even practicing it anymore because they have power and money now. So I'm going to get into this first video clip of what I mean. Like I said, I like to go back around to the history of what I'm talking about. That way I can move you forward to paint a picture for you of what's going on today. We're going to start with prohibition. I want y'all to watch this video.
Prohibition began in the United States in January 1920. After the 18th Amendment became effective, making the manufacture and sale of alcohol now illegal. Even though arrests for drunkenness initially declined, the law was very difficult to enforce as public demand surged for illegal alcohol. On top of this, there weren't enough prohibition agents to enforce it. Bootleggers found inventive ways of manufacturing and selling liquor. They created homemade moonshine or bathtub gin and smuggled it into cities and bars. Some bars became speakeasies. In order to sell illegal alcohol, they were secret. Because of the shared problem of prohibition, all kinds of people from different sections of society gathered in them. One such group that owned many of the speakeasies and profited from the prohibition were organized crime groups. Al Capone and Bugs Moran battled for control over the bootlegging and speakeasy trade, resulting in gang violence and a shocking crime wave across America.
As you can see, people, those speakeasies, the prohibition of America in the 30s, you know, they had these nightclubs where the only black in there was an entertainer. And they had liquor that was illegal inside those clubs. They had what you call the numbers. They had gambling. They had things going on inside these places that the underground mafia, which was also, blacks had a role in that too, but it became legal. And once this stuff became legal, the Italian mob, the Jewish mob, the Irish mob, they took off legally. You don't hear too much about the mafia anymore. Not because the feds have killed them or put them in jail for life. You don't hear about the mob anymore because most of these people have nephews and nieces that are senators now. They have nephews and nieces who are police officers now. They have legalized gambling now in places in America. They have legalized alcohol now. So these people are store owners, shop owners. But what happened is they left the black gangsters behind. And the black gangsters are still going around practicing gangster-ism, committing illegal crimes, but they haven't stepped forward and laid down the criminal activity. Because right now, if I go to any black gang member and I say, hey man, why don't you tell your niece or your nephew to go into the police force or become a fireman or become a sheriff deputy? You know, they're going to say, man, nah, man, I wouldn't get no respect around here. But see, they didn't do that back then. It was mob bosses. I'm going to play a clip about that. It was mob bosses back in the day that would tell their nephew, we don't need a made man out of you. We need a lawyer. We need a doctor. Just in case somebody gets shot, we can't take them to the hospital because, you know, the police are going to get involved. We could take them to this doctor over here and he'll patch him up, put him back out there on the streets. So I'm going to play this next clip. This next clip is talking about Vegas and the hand that the mob played in Vegas.
Linked Vegas to California in 1926. Without landmarks or tourist attractions, the city in the middle of the desert offered little to visitors. Soon, Las Vegas became notorious for connections to organized crime and illegal activity as entertainment for travelers. At the height of the Great Depression, construction began on the Boulder Dam, later renamed the Hoover Dam. Unemployed masses flooded Nevada for work and were obliged to live in government-regulated Boulder City as a way to enforce Prohibition-era rules. However, many found ways to blow their paychecks in Vegas. 1931 saw Nevada marriage and divorce laws loosened. Because of the potential for profits, gambling was also legalized. By 1933, Prohibition was repealed. Local business people, investors from the Mormon community, and major players in organized crime exploited the opportunity to entertain the mostly male dam workforce by building casinos and theaters.
Now see, the reason why I played Prohibition first, because alcohol was the marijuana of yesterday. And once they legalized alcohol, the very next thing came after that was gambling. That allowed the mafia to step forward out of the shadows of crime and criminal activity and become proper businessmen and businesswomen. That's why today's subject is on how the black gangsterism and the black deaths in our communities can and will probably slow down. It'll never stop completely because crime is always going to be on this planet. but it'll slow down and stop if they was to legalize marijuana, because more and more blacks and Latinos will have an opportunity, just like the Latino or the mafia families of yesteryear. They will have an opportunity to become proper businessmen and businesswomen, and they're not going to want to mess their money up with all of this shooting and crime and things of that nature. If they're growing crops of marijuana to sell to a major marijuana distributor, they're not going to want to have crime and all of this stuff hovering around them, which is exactly the same as what's going on with the casinos and the liquor stores. You rob a liquor store, ain't no telling who he's connected to. He's probably third generation mafia, but he's legit. He don't commit no crimes. He's gonna call the police on you. You know, so this last clip before I get into my first commercial break. This last clip is about Hollywood, because a lot of us have forgotten that Hollywood was founded just like Las Vegas on the backs of the mafia. They started, but it was the Jewish mafia. And how things ran was the Irish had the liquor, the Italians had the gambling, and the Jews had the movies. So once they came out of the gangster-ism of the 40s and the 30s, they became proper businessmen and businesswomen. And they started these major corporations, and now some of these people are worth millions right now to this day. They don't have to go out here and commit crimes. So I'm finna get into this last clip before I take my first commercial break. And when we get back, I'm gonna ask Mara what she thinks about today's subject, and we're gonna talk more in depth about this.
The mob, organized crime, has been a force in Hollywood almost since the advent of talking pictures. 50 years ago, when actors like Edward G. Robinson and Paul Muni were playing gangsters in movies like Little Caesar and Scarface, the mob was already in Hollywood playing for real.
We uncovered a strong outside connection with the East Coast families, the Genovese family, the Gambino family. We uncovered a strong presence with Chicago organized crime, with a syndicate at various levels within the motion picture and television industry.
Now, see, you know, I got about 20,000 followers. I got about 3,000 on YouTube, and on iHeartRadio, I look at the numbers. I have about 16,000 on iHeartRadio, and most of my people that listen to me are drivers, truck drivers. So it's like, you know, when I try to bring things to the people, I'm not only bringing things that it can help our community, but I also try to make people think, you know, because we have a lot of death going on out here in our communities, and that's like ammunition to the white supremacists to say, see, you know, y'all say Black Lives Matter, but y'all killing each other. My thing is, crime is going to be crime, period. Blacks are going to kill blacks, whites are going to kill whites. The reason why is because the psychologists have already figured out that people commit crimes against people that are like them. You know, blacks are not going out here robbing little old white ladies for snatching their purses. You know, and white men are not going out here raping black women. They rape white women, you know. So tell me what you think about today's subject.
Well, I think today's topic is really a good topic. In simple fact, it is the truth. When you kind of go back and look at the crime, one thing, and the black community, one thing we do is fail to realize, hey, we need to figure out a way to change what we doing. Right. It's like we adjust to one thing, and we don't. Each year is the same, so we don't look at the way of changing. Instead of us being in jail, we don't look at the way of us working in jail. We always say, "Oh, F this or F that," but we can be in those seats. That's why I tell people, like, you know, don't say F the police, this, that. You can work those spots. And right. Don't get mad at the next person or the next black person you see that's working those spots. It ain't like they the bad cops or this and that. Right. You can take those seats and you can work. Like, you can be a fireman. I had somebody that once told me that firemen was for white people, but I was a fireman.
Right.
It's like you can't, just because somebody tell you can't do this or do that, you still gotta push forward to do it. Can't nobody tell you can't do it. If you believe in that you can't do it, you won't be able to succeed into what you into
That's
that.
right. That's
But
right.
if you have that strong mindset and say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this. I don't care what nobody tell me," then you will succeed.
That's right.
I was a fireman, and being a volunteer at that. Like, so many people was like, "Well, why are you volunteering for? Why not get paid?" I said it's not even really about the money. It's about helping the community and giving back to the community, because I do enjoy volunteering more than I look at being a paid volunteer, because at the end of the day, a paid volunteer, they work so much for so little dollars. You better off volunteering anyway, just giving back to the community.
Right. Yeah, see, already, I'm telling you people, Money Making Biz is the media source for minorities in the Nashville, Murfreesboro, and what's the other little town up there? Nashville, Murfreesboro, and the college town.
Oh, it's
Clarksville. Clarksville. We are the media source, people. I'm telling you, we blowing up, and y'all need to stay in tune. I'm finna get into this next commercial break, and when we get back, we're gonna go into more detail about the more recent black gangsters and black men and women who are out here in these streets living the life, but they haven't realized mentally that those Italian gangsters that they model themselves after have already moved on to bigger and better things besides gangsterism and street life. They've left them behind. So we're going to get into this next commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to go into further detail, people.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
She was the most welcoming person you could ever imagine. Her home was the safe place. It was difficult to comprehend how quickly everything kind of spiraled downwards. We didn't even know that she had COVID till a week later in her passing. The president made a huge mistake in downplaying this virus. There was a lack of leadership, a lack of responsibility, and a lack of resources. I felt like our elderly have not been a priority for this administration, that they don't matter. And I feel like my grandmother didn't matter. The last time I saw my grandmother, we weren't going to be allowed in the hospital. We asked if we could video chat her, and everyone could say a little something. We gathered as a family, we prayed. But the fact that she was alone, it just breaks my heart.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, people, we're back with the Daily Read, and I'm your host, Marcus Gentry, and I'm here with Mara Jones. Mara Jones, right? Mara Jones, and I just found out Mara has a beautiful clothing line, and we will be advertising that on this show, people. It's some nice stuff. I'm telling you, you need to check it out. Watch this show. I'm gonna get all her links and everything at the end of this show. She has a beautiful clothing line. But we're gonna get back into the program and what we was talking about. Now, I'm gonna do a quick recap on the first part of the show. On the first part of the show, we was talking about the history of gangsterism in this country, and the history of that is that the men and women who ran the gangsters of yesteryear, the black gangsters of yesteryear, they have moved on. They've become senators, police officers, police commissioners, businessmen. These men and women are making multi-millions of dollars yearly, legally, because a lot of the things that they did that was illegal back in the 30s and the 40s, it's legal now. So they stepped away from the gangsterism and left the black gangsters behind. And you can't blame it all on those gangsters. Sometimes you got to pay attention to what's going on around you. And if the black gangsters would have paid attention to how the Italian mob and the Jewish mob and the Irish mob were moving, they would have saw that, hey, these people are getting out the game. But what wound up happening is, once the Italian mob, the Jewish mob, and the Irish mobs started getting out the game, the blacks, instead of them getting out too, they felt like it was their opportunity to take over the city. It was their opportunity to be the man. Instead of stepping back and saying, I wonder what these mafia types are doing now, and taking notes on what they were doing and following suit. So now we're finna get into people like Big Meech. I talked about Bumpy Johnson, and we just had FBG Duck. He just died here recently. He was murdered in the streets of Chicago, which is where I'm from. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to show y'all this brief clip.
Bumpy first came to power working for racket boss Stephanie St. Clair as an enforcer. The pair went to war against several New York crime bosses, including Dutch Schultz.
Dutch Schultz was not known for his gentle ways with the opposition.
After Dutch was shot to death, Stephanie laid low and Bumpy came into power. He and mob boss Lucky Luciano formed an alliance. Bumpy would control Harlem, and Luciano's crew would get a cut of some of the profits.
Now, the reason I played this clip is because a lot of minorities that elevate people like Bumpy Johnson and Frank Lucas on a pedestal, they never tell you that, yeah, he was the mob boss of Harlem, and they try to make it seem like he was just the man altogether. He answered to the mob boss of New York. He was basically the mob boss of his area, but he was a security guard for Lucky Luciano. I mean, it's crazy. People don't realize that. The man actually drove cars while Lucky Luciano was being chauffeured around in the back. He might have went to his area of New York and ran it like, he was the man. But in the Italian mob eyes, he was just, he was a send-out guy. And still to this day, even in Detroit, even in Atlanta, Chicago, all of these young black gangsters and young black men and women out here who are running these streets, they don't understand it, that those men and women that they model themselves out, they done moved on. These people are trying to fight crime now and keep you out of their stores robbing them, when they used to do the same things in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. I'm finna get on to Big Meech and the Detroit mafia family. These men were also connected to the Italian mob, and instead of them jumping off the streets, they continued on with it.
Demetrius Big Meech Flannery is the most dynamic and well-known American-born gangster since John Gotti.
You know what I'm saying? And we can't be stopped. I don't see nobody stop. I don't see none to come after us either.
For some people, he is a folk hero of sorts, and his respect from other inmates in the federal prison system, where he is currently in the middle of a 30-year sentence, is such that he is often put into the hole or transferred from prison to prison because Department of Corrections officials fear his power to organize other inmates. My documentary, Motown Mafia, about the Eddie Jackson organization in Detroit from the late 60s to the late 70s is a...
All right, people. As I was saying, you had men and women out here who were going around, flashing the jury. They want to be like the 40s and 50s. And there's very few men and women who step up and take the reins and are willing to go out here and put their life and limbs on the line. And Mara just brought somebody's name up to me. I want you to go ahead and speak what's going on with that.
Well, I was talking about Nipsey. You got to think about Nipsey. He was in the gang, but he was still a part of it. But his whole thing in his mindset, he wanted to help the community, give back to the community, bring everybody together. And the next thing you know, that he was murdered. And still to this day, don't nobody know the truth about his murder. It's just a lot of theories and stuff.
Right.
But it was jealousy. in my opinion, I feel like it was jealousy, you know, because he wanted to help bring people together. You know, one thing they don't want to see with the black community, they don't want to see us come together. They want to see us be apart and hate each other. Right. When you think about the gangs and the stuff, you got to show love. You know, back in the days, the gang wasn't really about killing each other. It was about them protecting the community and stuff. So things like that, if the times was to come back and the gang members realized that it was never about robbing and them killing, and it was about protecting their family and the communities and people around them, if it can come back and we not just be a target and they think of us as bad people, because we not bad. Black people are not bad people. We just got to understand it's time for a change.
That's right. And I think that the whole the mafiosos of yesterday, they saw the writing on the wall. Once Congress passed the laws allowing gambling, alcohol, and the movie production to take place, they saw that opportunity and got out. What I'm asking my viewers is, the coronavirus is the second Great Depression. And some of us, you know, like Mara here, me, and there's a lot of us out here who see that if you survive this, there's going to be a restructuring of the economy. During the restructuring of the economy around the Great Depression, that's when they allowed gambling and alcohol and things of that nature. So there's going to be a restructuring of the economy, because right now we're basically in a depression. The only reason you don't see it is because back then they kicked people out. Today they didn't do that. They stopped housing from kicking you out. That's why you don't see these tent cities on the side of the road when people, their whole families living in tent cities. But right now we are living in a depression, and we will come out of it. But once we come out of it, how many of you are ready and willing to step forward and make, you know, some moves? Because those Italians and Jews and people like that, after the Great Depression, they stepped forward, and today there are the millionaires and billionaires of today. You know, so this is some real stuff, and if people just pay attention, you know, their life will take off. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna play on my next clip. I'm gonna play a clip of FBG Duck. He had a positive message to the young black youths of Chicago, and I think the message that he gave to the people of Chicago came too late, and he was already in it too deep. And my thing is, you shouldn't wait so long to change. You know, I left the whole gang banging structure and all that stuff alone years ago, because when I got custody of my kids, I felt like, you know, I'm the only thing they got. And a lot of people don't think like that. They it's all about themselves. This country, I talked about this on one of my previous shows, this country has a mental health issue when it comes to just life in general. But we're going to go into this last commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to end it off, and I'm going to say a few things, then I'm going to let Mara speak to the people and, you know, give her last thoughts also.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mara J. I'm a fashion designer in the Nashville area. I just launched my own clothesline. The name of my clothesline is Jelani Air. And if you're wondering if the clothesline is unisex, to answer the question, yes, it's unisex. I will be selling varsity jackets in a variety of colors and sizes. Also leggings. You have two materials to choose from, leather or cotton. And t-shirts which come in a different designs. Also, if you want good quality of clothing, and work at affordable price, feel free to contact me at 931-999-3014.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
My show usually lasts an hour. So what you think? Think you can do this?
I can. I think it would be great because one thing I like is talking, and you know, people like I always wanted to do like be a motivated speaker. Okay. And one thing I used to tell my cousin up in Chicago, I'm from Chicago.
Okay. I'm from the west side.
I'm from the south side.
Okay.
And one thing I used to tell my cousin is that I always wanted to speak to especially to the youth or the public about certain things, you know. Me, like, coming up, yeah, my dad was in the military. He's in the Army and stuff. But
my mother. And
so my dad, thank God, like, he lives in Chicago. My parents separated, but my mom here, my dad up there. You know, I have a strong relationship with my dad, and I have a strong relationship with mom. But when I see, my thing is, when I have two brothers. I have an oldest one that's 40, but we don't have a good connection with each other, and I have an older sister. I'm the youngest out of 4.
Okay.
Oh, well, 3. And so my thing is I don't understand the whole thing. You know, us wanting to adjust to a change and come together. It's like you can go work at a job and see a bunch of Hispanics that don't know each other come together. Yeah. But we go work at a job and it's nothing but black people. The black community, we can't work together. It's always something. It's gonna be drama, this and that. I said, when you think about slavery, it's the same thing. They always wanted us to hate each other. Yeah. And it's like a lot of us don't realize that
we were too dangerous.
We was. And one thing about it, the white community is really scared because they know the type of people we are, and so they want the power. Right. It's not even about the power. It's about unity. And so, like, most of my poems that I wrote, it's about what's going on. It ain't just normal poems. It's like spoken words. Like, just.
You got one?
I do. I have a lot of them.
Okay. On this last segment, I'm gonna talk a little bit about FBG Duck, and then I'm gonna give you the last word. Give you the last word. I got you. Let's see. Yeah, get your poem together.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
All right, people, we back with the Daily Read, and my co-host for the day is Mara Jones, and I'm gonna end today's show off with a brief message to everybody out there. We have hard times, and you know, we minorities are used to it. There are a lot of whites out there who are friends and foes who are not used to hard times like this. They haven't seen these type of hard times since the Great Depression because of, you know, white privilege. My thing to all the people out there, especially you minorities that's living a life of gangster mentality, you know, see food, eat food, or be food, that type of mentality. You know, there's another way. The gangsters of yesterday have already shown you, because they're the millionaires of today. One young man, I never got a chance to meet him personally, but I watched his story and how he changed, and how he just signed a major record deal after being a rapper for 9 years, ducking bullets for 9 years in Chicago, and he finally changed. And the tragic end to his life. This is FBG Duck.
Look, I got 4 kids. You see what I'm saying? I got 3 boys, 1 girl. You know what I'm saying? If I catch a nigga with his daughter, I'm gonna give him a pass. That's just the heart of me, because I don't want no nigga to catch me with one of my kids and try to take me in front of my kids. You see what I'm saying? So I get a nigga a pass like that, but you silly ass niggas need to start getting these guns, doing all this extra shit that y'all doing. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all ain't doing it right. Y'all not even hitting y'all target. You know what I'm saying? It's already that y'all, it's fucked up that we out here killing each other as black people. You know what I'm saying? We should be sticking together, but.
Now, that was FBG Duck before he died. And yeah, he finally caught on to what the gangsters, because he was a black gangster. You know, he was a gangster disciple, but he was a black gangster. He had gangsterism all in his music, all in his way of life. For 9 years, he rapped in Chicago, and he refused to leave Chicago like some of these other rappers who get wealthy. They leave Chicago because they know it's death waiting around every corner. He refused to leave Chicago, but he started to change. And I'm not going to show you a lot of this, but this is FBG Duck.
Well, you should have told somebody what all these. He was in.
Hey y'all, what's going on? I'm here. I'm in the Gold Coast. I'm in the Gold Coast right now. And man, I was just riding my bike, y'all. I'm just riding my bike. Fuck, man.
They shot him at one of our upscale parts of Chicago, where in broad daylight. You know, this was some stuff right out of the 40s where the gangsters jump out the truck with the Tommy gun and gun down people. After this man done tried to change his life, you know. And what Mara was talking about, how Nipsey Hussle died, something similar to this. It seems like there's a cabal, a certain people who don't want change in our communities. I look at Kanye West. I didn't know him personally, but I knew of his work in Chicago when he was selling beats for $50. You know, instead of selling beats for hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, and now all of a sudden he's a Trump supporter, and he's a basically a plant for white supremacy. You know, I see what's going on. I don't see the trees, I see the forest. And when I look at the forest, I see that there are a certain amount of minorities who become wealthy, and once they become wealthy, they don't want the white supremacy structure to come crumbling down, because they know their time is up too. They managed to make good on this type of economy that left the rest of us behind. I'm going to let Mara finish today's program up, and I hope all of you guys learned something. She's going to give us a poem, and she's going to speak and give her last details about today's show.
Okay, the poem that I wrote is called, it says, with the mindset of a devil, we killing the prey, sacrificing our families each and every day, killing our brothers and kidnapping our sisters. God didn't put us here for us to go against us. No love in the community, bullying in school. It takes us to put a stop to the devil's move. We have the government on our hands. They taking us out. Do we live as a fool? Because the game is played out. They killing us for our talent and taking credit for our skills. God didn't put us here to sway up a white man's hill. Unity is a big one, which plays a major deal. They separating us slowly, so the meaning of unity will never build. Lord oh mercy, Lord is Lord oh justice, Lord oh mercy. People around the world praying, please don't hurt me. War on our hand, it's a battlefield. Fighting for a nation that God had built. Enemies attacking, what's wrong with that? Killing our soldiers over a devil's back.
I love it. You're going to get more of this, people. We bringing good content to you, to our communities, and you know, it's blessings all around. Give them a plug just in case people want to contact you about your clothing line, and you know, contact you period about your show.
Well, I just started a clothing line. My clothing line is called Jelani Air, and so I do have like varsity jackets and things like that, sandals, sweatpants, leggings, and I also draw my own clothing. So that's another option too. So you can contact me if you want to see some of my work. I can send you my work. My contact number is 931 888-999-3014. Like I said, that's the contact number to get to me about my clothesline, and I can send you pictures and show you the things I have been working on.
All right. That is the Daily Read for the day, people. And peace. We out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.